Well, we'd have to go back and look, and we're reviewing the transcript, but she seemed to indicate that, without direct quote her, she seemed to indicate that all the way up until the time Mueller was named, until the special counsel, we're talking May of 2017, there was still no real evidence of any type of coordination, any type of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia to impact the election. Which, frankly, at this point shouldn't surprise us much, because everything we've heard from the Mueller investigation to date, no evidence of any coordination, collusion, conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Russia to impact the election. So we just found it was one of those moments, if I'm remembering this correctly, she said something, then she sort of caught herself and sort of trailed off. But it was like we were asking a series of questions, and it was like, even up until the time of the Mueller investigation, there was no real evidence. That's how it was going. So I want to go back. I haven't had a chance to go back and look at the transcript, but from our notes, it was something to that effect. And we thought that was pretty telling.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to look at the latest new Q post and ask yourself this simple question. What would you do if your children were unfairly targeted for what you did politically? Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. I always like to start by saying thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, please come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and hit the like button if you guys like the content that you see here. So today we're going to pick up right where we left off with the latest Q post. Q post 3053 is where we left off. Q post 3054 is where we're going to be picking up. And I always start by encouraging you guys to come back here to the landing page, watch these last few videos if you want to get caught up on the Q post, especially this one right here. There's an incredible story that could exist with what happened with this college scam, scamming the system, these celebrities paying to get their children into these elite colleges. And it could go so much more deeper, all the way into secret societies and to the Chinese. You got to watch that if you guys want to see that info. But you can watch this video if you're scratching and going, what in the heck is QAnon and what's this guy talking about? You're going to want to come here and watch this video. What is QAnon, the Great Awakening? That'll give you all the information that you need. So today we're going to get right into it because we have a lot of posts. We have almost 20 posts as of now that we're going to have to go through here on the channel. So we're going to try to keep this fairly brief. So first post says, happy hunting from Q. And what is it? Well, it's a tweet from our good friend, Representative Doug Collins again. Now, if you'll remember in the last video, Q referenced a tweet that was put out yesterday by Doug Collins, or probably the day before, which actually gave us the transcript of Lisa Page's closed door testimony and regarding what happened with this whole FISA and insurance policy, the Russia collusion investigation, right? Then now we're getting actually this new one, which is the transcript of the closed door testimony given by Peter Strzok during his interview with the Judiciary Committee. And here's the actual transcript itself. There will be a link to this in the description, but it's 300 pages. And to be quite honest, I haven't had a chance to read all 300 pages since it was just posted today. But there has to be a lot of good information in there. And I know a lot of other people are combing through it as we speak. So we're going to have to come back to this one. But you guys can please join in the effort. Come here, get the link, read this for yourself. There's a lot of information in here that I'm sure is going to be quite enlightening. So we're going to want to read through this. But for now, we have a lot more to cover. So we're going to leave that on the back burner, and that'll come up fairly soon, I'm sure. And just to give you an idea, though, before we move fully on, this is all got to be tied to what happened in London, what happened with Christopher Steele, what happened with Operation Crossfire Hurricane. There is so much in there you're going to want to go check out, and I'll be reading through that later as well. Anyway, the next one here is this Sarah Carter tweet, which is about a new story that she's put out talking about how the special counsel has announced that Andrew Weissmann is leaving the special counsel. Now, you guys know him as the pit bull, right? So him stepping down is a big deal. And in this Sarah Carter article, it actually talks about how this is a very, very strong sign and indication that there was nothing there and that there's possible improprieties. Now, what do I mean by possible improprieties? Well, as was kind of alluded to in the beginning of this video, what would you do if your children were targeted by rogue individuals who were basically trying to destroy you politically, and they would do it by any means necessary? And what if they actually had written sealed indictments on your children and tried to use those to blackmail you? What if, right? That's really what the question is, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. But of course, as I always say, this article will be linked. You're going to want to go check that out as well. And Q says the end is near, which means we're probably approaching the end of this Mueller collusion investigation, and we're going to get some sort of report out. Although it is being reported today that Lindsey Graham has tried to block the release of the Mueller report because multiple sources are reporting it, and just out of fairness, we're going to look at these great CNN article. Yeah. Anyway, we're not going to read through this article. We're just going to look at the main point, which is that Graham has blocked the vote for public release of the Mueller report. Now, that could have to do with a lot of different things, but to be quite honest, this is starting to go the way that we've been told it's going to go for a very long time. Just more instances of future proving past. So that is something to look at. And now, another one is the Baker requests a handoff. Now, what that means in the lingo of the 8chan boards is that the person who's been running the thread and making the new bread, as in the new threads to post on, because they have to be continually produced. That's how it works. It's an open source code that you contribute to and then make web pages from. So these people who are doing the most selfless job, be quite frank, it's truly impressive, and I'm humbled and thankful that that every one of you out there, even if you're watching this or not, that you contribute that incredible effort. And Q wants to reiterate that, saying, thank you for your service. The importance of Anon's Patriots and your commitment thus far is incalculable. God bless, Q. And I really just want to echo those sentiments that the people who are really the nameless, selfless individuals are the ones on the Anon boards every day sifting through this stuff, and there's a lot of other people on there as well. So thank you. Now the next one is just this picture, Trader's Justice, which is the Punisher symbol, which has been adopted by a lot of different military operators. And that's just, I think, a little homage to our men and women in uniform who are helping make this all possible. Thank you for your service. And, of course, Trader's Justice will come. Now, the next one here, Rod Rosenstein debrief complete. So I guess Rod Rosenstein has finally been debriefed by, I would assume, Attorney General William Barr, and we're going to look at the outcome of that. Apparently, out of this debriefing, this is from the source Q, Attorney General Barr was disgusted by what he discovered so far. Quote, in all my years, in all my life, I never would have thought all of this corruption would, and I'm filling in the blank here, right? The people who are involved, the FBI, DOJ, all that. I mean, truly, if you look at what happened with this FISA thing, they dropped the ball. They were doing everything wrong, and it was all politically motivated, and they allowed it to happen. But it says, I never would have thought that their corruption, whatever you want to put in the blank here, would be possible within the halls of these prestigious federal agencies. Press conference coming? They will claim political attack Q. So this is what's coming. I mean, Attorney General William Barr is going to probably have a press conference soon where he announces that there was a complete there was incredible misconduct at the FBI with regard to the FISA application, with regard to Bruce Orr and his wife Nellie Orr, who's now, we're looking at reports out today about confirming her working with the CIA. I mean, and then she's the one funneling this Clinton Oppo research to her husband at the DOJ, who's funneling it to the FBI. And it's starting to look like it was all politically motivated in order to go and spy on the opposition campaign. And this was ordered, apparently, if you look at all the indications by the president, the former president, Obama, Hussein. Guys, we're really crossing into a very difficult time, but we'll get through this. Now, the next one here. Do you remember what we heard? This is what it's all about. This is what the start of the video here that I was trying to point to is all about. When we got this post, I put together pretty quickly, as well as many Anons and everyone else did very quickly, that the insinuation being made by Q is that there were some sealed indictments that had been set in place by the Mueller investigation, that these indictments were trying to be used in order to blackmail the president, to squeeze the president. Could you imagine if you knew that you have a rogue special counsel that's operating an investigation predicated on no evidence, where they've managed to manufacture sealed indictments against your children, right? Imagine what that would be like in an attempt to basically blackmail you into complying and not looking into matters further. And Q says, quote unquote, insurance indictments regarding Ivanka, Jared Jr. all removed, but you already knew that from the drop. Q. So like it said here, can a sealed indictment be pulled post-filing? Power of Attorney General Barr. So if Barr went and actually looked at these facts, because he has not recused himself, he looks at the facts of the case and says, how do you get sealed indictments on President Trump's children from an investigation that started looking at Russia collusion between the president and Russia in the campaign? And then putting that in context of this FISA abuse and putting it in context of the Clinton influence, it's obvious. It was a politically motivated hit job from the beginning, or witch hunt, whatever you want to call it. And Q already did tell us. So we already knew that. Now, the next one is an anon pointing to this George Papadopoulos tweet where he basically names Joseph Mifsud. Now, if you remember who Joseph Mifsud was, he was the Maltese academic who had reportedly high-level connections to the Russian government. Now, what role did he play? He was basically a part of the network of individuals who were trying to embed themselves within the Trump campaign in order to be the predicate for these FISA abuses. Does that make sense? Meaning, Joseph Mifsud, whatever his name is, a guy who's, as far as I know, has disappeared since coming up under scrutiny, and I believe there might be charges out there, but don't quote me on that. Regardless, he disappeared in 2017. He hasn't been seen. This guy's gone like a ghost. And what was the point? The point was he was putting himself into Trump's orbit. Why? Because then, and I'm telling you, these guys are all clowns, right? They embed themselves and then they make themselves the predicate for the investigation. Oh, well, that guy, Mifsud, he knows he has high-level Russian connections, so now we can go after President Trump and his connections to Russia. Everything makes perfect sense when you look at this. Gives us another piece to the puzzle, to saving the world. Q. Guys, we are grateful for every single person who's working this 24/7, 365, as I am. And it really is, this is the newest revolution in our country where we're actually affecting change on a broad scale. And we should be very proud, but continue working hard to uncover this as it were, because that's what we're here as Americans to do, is to fight for the freedom in our country that exists. So anyway, we'll just move into the next one. The next one is this Hill article, and it talks about Lisa Page's bombshell about how, and this is a part of the clip that we saw in the beginning of this video, the first clip you saw with Jim Jordan, but it talks about how the FBI couldn't prove Trump-Russia collusion before the Mueller appointment. So before they appointed this special counsel, they had no proof. How do you appoint a special counsel when you have no verifiable proof? I mean, you had the Steele dossier, basically unverified Oppo research that was weaponized. But other than that, there was no predicate. And if there is no predicate, then how did they go off into these new investigations? Because if there was never an original predicate, then there should have never been an investigation. If there should never have been an investigation, then they should not be continuing to expand the scope of it, as Rod Rosenstein did in the amendment to the original scope of the Russia collusion investigation, which I'm sure Attorney General William Barr has been briefed on to this point. So you see how this all works? And you guys can read this whole article if you want. It's John Solomon, who does great work, a regular contributor, does great stuff here. And but this kind of sums it all up right here. It says, so by the words of Comey, Strzok, and Page, We now know that the Trump Justice Department, through Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, unleashed the Mueller special counsel probe before the FBI could validate a connection between Trump and Russia, which raises the question, if there was no concrete evidence of collusion, why did we need a special counsel? That's it. That's a simple question that I still have not gotten a satisfactory answer to, but here's Q to let us know what we should glean off of this, really. It says, remember this important fact. If there was no evidence of Russia collusion, what grounds did Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein have to appoint Mueller? Rod Rosenstein offered to wear a wire to entrap the President of the United States in an attempt to invoke the 25th Amendment? Q. These are stories that have been reported on. I mean, oh, it was a joke. Rod Rosenstein was just, ha ha ha, I'll wear a wire and I'll go spy. No, even I think McCabe was saying that the context, or was one of the people who were in the room for that meeting was saying the context was very serious. So you have a Deputy Attorney General, basically an acting Attorney General because Jeff Sessions had recused himself, not only, helping to appoint this Mueller probe without any evidence, and not only allowing sealed indictments to be submitted against the children of the president, allegedly, but also offering to go wear a wire and to spy even further on the president. You imagine you go from, he's had the FISA court spying on him, he's got the FISA intelligence apparatus spying on him through these agencies, and now the Deputy Attorney General is like, well, you know what, maybe I'll wear a wire. I mean, oh man, I have to laugh sometimes because this is just so incredibly awful. But the next one is important as well. It says, remember this important fact. Adam Schiff is part of the Gang of Eight intel. It will become critical once Gang of Eight material is declassified. Logical question. If Adam Schiff knew everything he's investigating and stating publicly to be knowingly false disinformation, why then would he take the course of actions ongoing? Did Adam Schiff purposely deceive the American public thinking the Gang of Eight material plus other classified documentation would never reach the public domain? What insurance did they hang over POTUS's head in order to prevent his actions? A father's love for his children knows no bounds. That's what it was, guys. That's what Adam Schiff's been this all perfectly lays out what happened. Adam Schiff thinking that this Gang of Eight intel material will never see the light of day. So nobody will ever be able to really see the truth about how this whole Russia collusion thing was predicated off of Oppo research from the Clintons, and that all this was going to be verified publicly. So he's working off of the assumption that, oh, well, I can just keep going. And then why would he go for other actions? Meaning, once they figured out that Robert Mueller's investigation is not going to produce the result that they desired, meaning that they had a desired outcome for the Mueller's probe. It wasn't a fair, the cards fall where they may. It was a desired outcome they had in starting this, predicated off of no evidence, right? They knew Andrew Weissman had put together, and I'm assuming it's Andrew Weissman or somebody in the Mueller team, put together these sealed indictments against President Trump's children. They were holding that over his head saying, hey, look, if you don't bow down to us, if you don't stop investigating, if you don't call off Huber, if you don't call off Horowitz and the rest, then we're going to go after your children. That's what this is basically insinuating. I mean, it's unfathomable. I'm just floored. Then again, evil knows no bounds, and that is what we're up against. So the next one is a very interesting one. First of all, it's this Paul Sperry tweet where it's breaking that the Department of Justice Inspector General Horowitz is investigating who in the senior ranks of the FBI and DOJ, including Rosenstein and Yates, knew Bruce Ohr was back-channeling anti-Trump dirt from Steele to the FBI after Steele was terminated by the FBI as a confidential source. Ohr is fully cooperating in this probe. Well, that's interesting that you say that Ohr is fully cooperating in this probe, because this post right here we got from back in 2018 in August. Q tells us again, and he told us this before, that Ohr, Strzok, Page, they were all cooperating witnesses. So it says, what did we learn this week? Ohr cooperating witness, Page cooperating witness, Strzok cooperating witness. Next, Q. Interesting. So the next one here is another incredible one. We're back in August. Q told us all about how Nellie Orr had connections to the farm, aka the clowns. You guys know who they are, the clowns over at the CIA. So think about this now. We have this article that just came out from the Epoch Times, which incredibly is saying Nellie Orr's testimony confirms her work for the CIA. Wow. So she was working for the clowns, and then she went over and started working at Fusion GPS, and then magically she was working on this dossier that was put out to go after the president. Oh man, these coincidences. I really think they're all coincidences, right? Come on. Anyway, it says, what did we learn this week? Nellie Orr equals clown. Yes, next, Q. Man, we're going through them pretty quick here, right? The New York Times article. Okay, now, I was the one complaining about paywalls before, and Q made a good point that if you just clear your cookies, then you don't have to worry about the paywall because you can get free articles, but that would mean I have to clear my cookies, and they're so helpful sometimes. But there are other ways to do it. For instance, here is what it looks like from somebody who is not a subscriber and who has not cleared their cookies. Thank you, Q. But here's what it looks like when you just go to another source. And it's got basically the same story and another paywall, of course, but at least we get a little bit more. Anyway, these two officials are the ones that we're going to look at. Chris Cox and Chris Daniels. Now, who were these guys? Well, I think that we can put together something pretty incredible when we look at this. So it says, sometimes the truth is right in front of you. So two top level executives from Facebook resign right after Q starts announcing that Facebook's going to start having some problems, and that Facebook is basically LifeLog, and that it's owned and operated by the clowns. I can't make this up. I mean, I really can't. I wish I had that good of an imagination. I really don't. This is crazy. Then Q gives us his Market Watch article, right, which shows insider actions for Facebook and how there's been some movement. But the funny thing is here, it looks like the clowns, right? It's Class A. That's an L. That's not an I. But I think that was kind of like the joke that was made here. But it wasn't really a joke as much as it is an insinuation. Because if you look here in the next one, somebody posted a screenshot from that. And talking about exits, people, I guess, exiting. And then it says, do you see the symbol there? It's Class A, CLA, but C, you know what, A, the clowns. So there you go. I mean, that's what Q is saying. I think it's a little more of a tongue-in-cheek type thing, which we're going to see a couple more of. But yeah. We're going to want to dig probably a little deeper on Chris Cox and Chris Daniels, because I believe that they might perhaps have connections to what has gone on with LifeLog and its transition to Facebook. And we're going to look at the fact that now Facebook's coming out. Q even pointed to, they're coming out and saying, oh, well, we fixed our problem. It was just a server issue. Yeah, just a server issue. Yeah, you had to go erase all the code that would have been basically was probably copy and pasted out of the LifeLog into the programming for Facebook. Allegedly. Oh man, these people, right? Yeah, so there we go. The next one is Class A shares, fun nonetheless. And this is basically an add-on, magnifying what we looked at. And it was just a fun little quip on it, because it does tie directly into what we're talking about. Now, here's the good one. This is one I think is directed at a lot of people who have this complaint, including myself a lot of the time. But it says, I wish Q would stop posting like New York Times articles. We can't read them unless we pay. It gives them relevancy in the midst of all the lies. Find another source. So, yeah, you can clear your cookies. That's what Q says. Q says, clear history cookies to bypass all paywalls. Read free. Q. I agree 100%. And like I said before, though, some of my cookies are very helpful. So you can do whatever you want. Usually, if there's an article, even if it's like a New York Times article, you can go find another article that says all of the same facts for free. So that's usually my go-to. But I'll look at maybe clearing cookies. Thanks, Q. really appreciate that one. Anyway, the next one is Hack the Planet, Hack the Gibson. Now, this is a reference to the 90s movie Hackers, which I saw as growing up. And yeah, it's a great movie, in my opinion. It's interesting. I think it's like, I don't watch a lot of movies anymore, barely any movies at all, because I can't stand Hollywood, but I did watch them when I was younger, and that was one of the ones I watched and grew up watching and thought was a good movie, as does Q in saying Zero Cool, which is a reference in that movie to the main character who was actually, when he was a child, he was arrested because he had he hacked like an entire mainframe or something and like knocked out a bunch of power. I think there was a blackout or something in New York. And the kid's username was Zero Cool. And then later in the movie, you find like his friends find out that he is Zero Cool, and it's just a part in the movie. Anyway, enough on that. It says, to summarize this week, this is the next Q post, regarding Democrats' prep to steal 2020 election. I can't make this stuff up. It says, attack Fox News to control opposition narrative. That's what happened, you saw with Tucker Carlson and Judge Jeanine. 6 companies control 90% of the mainstream media. Oh, that's great. That's really comforting. Vote to allow illegal immigrants right to vote in elections. I don't even understand that one. How do you vote to allow illegal immigrants to vote in elections? By that logic, Russia could just send its entire population over here if they wanted to meddle in the election, and then they could all vote. But then again, if you actually follow logic, it's hard to be a liberal. It says push tailing and talking points regarding voter age should, there's no K, and Q says to disregard the spelling error. But it says push talking points regarding voter age should be decreased from 18 to 16. Oh, that's great. Yeah, we need more young, impressionable, immature people voting in elections. The people who are easy to manipulate. Oh, that's a good idea. Great. Anyway, and if they're not old, they're not adults yet. That's the thing. It's like, if you can't go join the military, then why in the world would you be voting? You can't drive. You can't do pretty much anything. You're still under the control of your parents, but you're supposed to vote. That one doesn't make sense. No wall, open borders, all welcome equals more Democrat votes. Yep, that's what they want, and we've allowed them to show their true colors, right? It says, deny proper counting of U.S. Census, avoid public knowledge, real illegal population to avoid voter fraud percent risk to elections. Welcome to the Democrat Party, Q. And this last one's a big one, too. That's what Q's talking about with the whole census idea. They don't want us to be able to ask, are you a U.S. citizen? Because if we did, we might actually find out there's maybe 20, maybe 30 million people who are here illegally. And they wouldn't even be afraid to say it because they basically can't be deported. I mean, this is insane. Anyway, Q says disregard spelling error on the move. So that was the K that was missing from talking points. The next one here is finally, it is this report from Seeking Alpha Now that's saying that Facebook says the outage was caused by a server change. Now resolved. Oh, good. I'm glad you went in and changed it from being owned and operated by the clowns and their tech from DARPA, LifeLog. So now maybe you've changed it back to some other programming code. I don't know. You guys will have to let me know what you think down in the comments, but that is pretty much where we're going to wrap it up. A few more things before we go, if you guys want to stick around. First of all, if you want to help support the channel, the best way to do it is to come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and hit that like button. There's a thumbs up button at the bottom of this video. Click that if you guys like this content and want me to do more. Also, watch these videos, share them on your social media, get the word out there, and leave your thoughts, theories, and insights. I want to hear what you guys have to say about everything that we just covered here today on the channel. And a few other ways you can help. You can come over here to Patreon. It's patreon.com. You can come here. It's a crowdfunding website. Without you guys supporting me here, I couldn't do this. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. You guys are what keep this channel going, and I will keep working 24/7, 365, working every day to post this information, to share this information, to do the research, and to do what I can to contribute to this effort. And I thank you so much for your support. And I also have this GoFundMe if you want to make a one-time donation, because Patreon's monthly. It's up to you, but I appreciate your support nonetheless. Also, come find me over on Twitter at JustinFormU. It's cool to come over here and follow what I do with the tweets and all that stuff, and we can connect and all that. So it's a cool place for you guys to come get all the information. You get my funny tweets, clever, awesome tweets, and you get all the videos and all that stuff. And there's just incredible information there. If you're on Twitter, come find me at JustinFormU. Also, I have Just Informed News, the official website for Just Informed Talk. That's justinformednews.com. All one word, justinformednews.com. And when you come here, you just basically you have links to all the Q stuff. You get links to different news sites. You get links to breaking news articles, and you have all of the videos right here. You can go watch and see those for yourself. So I always encourage you guys to go check that out. Now, before we go, we do a segment at the end of each episode called God's Grace is Greater. And it's a segment where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. So for today's episode, I've picked a very special piece of scripture that I want to share with you, and it's a prayer for spiritual power, and I want to put this out there for all of you guys. And I think these words, I hope these words will strengthen your hearts and remind you of the eternal love you have from God the Father and the eternal salvation you've received through the sacrifice of Jesus Christ for our sins. So I'm going to read this to you. It's out of Ephesians chapter 3, verses 14 through 21, and it's a prayer for spiritual power. And it says, "For this reason, I bow my knees before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and on earth is named. I pray that he may grant you, according to the riches of his glory, to be strengthened with power through his Spirit in the inner man, and that the Messiah may dwell in your hearts through faith. I pray that you, being rooted and firmly established in love, may be able to comprehend with all the saints what is the length and width, height and depth of God's love, and to know the Messiah's love that surpasses knowledge, so that you may be filled with all the fullness of God. Now, to him who is able to do above and beyond all that we ask or think, according to the power that works in you, to him be glory in the church and in Christ Jesus to all generations, forever and ever. Amen." And that's truly what this is all about. Putting our faith in God, bowing on our knees to God, and submitting ourselves and saying, "Lord, please come into our hearts and make us your most humble servants. Give us the strength and courage and wisdom to be your best servants." Because if and this is the way I always approach this, is if I ask God to make me the man that he deserves in this world, or if you ask God to make you the man or woman that you need to be for him in this world, then you can be the man or woman you need to be for your family, for your friends, for your loved ones, for the whole world. And you can become a light that shines into the world. And that's what I think we need to stress to one another, is that God's love is radiating all around us all the time. We just need to tap into that and push it forward into the world, because that's what we're called to do. We have such a great gift through our eternal salvation that it's up to us to push it out into the world and to spread God's word and to honor God and to ask God with the most, from the most humble place, "Lord, please make me your most humble servant." And that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. And I want to say thank you guys for watching. Again, make sure, if you haven't already, please come here to landing page, click the big red subscribe button, and there's a thumbs up button at the bottom of this video. Go click that and let them know you like what you're seeing here, and that lets me know you guys want to see more. So I appreciate you guys doing that. But that's going to be it for me. I want to say thank you for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.